this is the team I would play. I'm not quite sure who's done those squad numbers, lads, but I wouldn't have Matt Doherty as a 5. And do you not know he's a wing back? I would go, Randolph's nailed on in goal, isn't he? I would go, it's actually wrong, I wouldn't go Keogh, I would go John Egan and Duffy as the centre-half pairing.
Are you telling me that your team that we've put up is actually not your team?
There's one difference.
Okay, so you've John Egan in for Keogh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would put him up. So it's a balance of who's playing well at club level, who's confident, and also who's been performing for us. So Doherty, obviously in Seamus's absence, for me is a no-brainer. Goes straight in ahead of Cyrus Christie.
One thing on Doherty, O'Neill was asked about him during the week, obviously, and certainly admitted he's in good form. He said the problem maybe has been for him is that he's been predominantly a wing-back, which is obviously slightly different maybe to a right-back in a 4-4-2 or 4-3-3. I can't think there's that big a difference. I think he'd figure it out fairly quickly, no? Is that a legitimate, but is it a big enough barrier for him?
No, it's not a big enough barrier. And like we've said this before on the show, that maybe his face just doesn't fit. I've heard Stephen Hunt speak about him before, about he's played with him, he knows him quite well. Maybe his demeanour and his casual nature, laid back way doesn't sit well. I think he's also said he's not the best trainer. So how do you impress when you go into a squad? Obviously it's in training. I've played with players down through the years that have, Saturday 3 o'clock, bang, come to life. That's becoming more and more rare, because you could get away with that years ago, whereas now you can't. Wearing the gloves, I don't think sits well with certain people.
Well, O'Neill said it to him.
Yeah. So there's that aspect of, is there a little bit of friction? If you go purely on performances and who's playing well, we said it last week, who's the players that are banging form? He is the player banging form. He's just won the Player of the Month.
The last Irish player to win that is Robbie Keane in 07.
How long? 07.
Yeah.
Does that not say a lot?
We've only had
He's won ahead of Hazard, for Christ's sake.
We've only had 4 players of the month in the Premier League era.
Have we only had 4?
Yeah. Which is, I guess, how have we only had 4?
Shay Given must have been one, was it?
How has Dennis Irwin not won a few? But then again, you can see how Dennis Irwin wouldn't win a few.
He's just 7.5 out of 10 every week.
Every week, yeah. So I presume Doherty's in, even for Martin O'Neill. I know that's your team.
I presume so. But
Cyrus Christie is off the back of a terrible performance. Admittedly,
he got hung out to try.
O'Neill defended him. Did you like that, by the way O'Neill got involved and bit back at Alan Shearer?
I like the fact that he protected his player and backed his player.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's real need. Did he get asked the question directly about Cyrus and the way
Alan Shearer to go
took him to shreds on Match of the Day?
I would think so, yeah. I would think so.
Well, then he's probably within his rights to
mention Alan's managerial
have
record.
a little bit of a dig back.
I was fine with
Shearer. Look, you put yourself out there in the media, you've got to take a couple of jabs back at certain stages. I'm anticipating a few.
You're due a few.
I am due a couple of jabs. But he has to play.
Okay.
Right? So centre-half, Duffy for me, nailed on. He's just our Richard Dunn now.
Yeah, no, Duffy's a no-brainer. Why John Egan over Keogh?
All right, so Keogh, I thought last month played very, very well. He's playing against Poland on the right-hand side of a 3 centre-halves. He's playing very well for Derby County. So, in fairness, that team going up, that was my original team, and I just thought, no, I'm going with Egan, because I think when you look at what Sheffield United have done, you look at the way when he's being fit, what he did at Brentford, got his move to Sheffield United, playing centre of a 3, the age he is, there has to be at some stage an evolution within the group of, okay, Richard Keogh might do well for us for these 2 games, and I totally take on board your point about this week, maybe stabilisation, so there is that element. I think Egan's ready, and he deserves a crack at the whip. And I also thought he did well last month. And he's brave on the ball. He's not afraid to demand the ball and organise and orchestrate from behind the ball.
Okay.
So I would put him in. Don't think he'll start, but I would start him. I think he's done magnificently well, alongside Enda Stevens, who would also put in. Place up for grabs, obviously Stephen Ward, nursing an injury. Him, Derek Williams. I would go with Stevens again. Energy, the character that he's shown to get to where he is in his club career.
Yeah.
I don't think you've seen too much of him, have you?
No. Your midfield 5, McLean's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Arthur comes in. You've Robinson on one side, and so you've Sean Williams and O'Dowda in.
Yeah.
Talk to us about those 3.
So I suppose the obvious omission is Jeff Hendrick, and this kind of pained me a little bit, because I have been one of his biggest fans from day dot, coming through at Derby, the way his education went at Derby, with Clough giving him the nuts and bolts of being a central midfielder, a little bit more old school. And then Steve McLaren came in and fine-tuned him, and then he's gone to Burnley, which is probably a little bit of a hybrid in between both. He just hasn't hit the heights since the Euros. And I don't know why. At times he's played for Burnley as an advanced attacking midfielder and does a good job, but it's not his strength. And now I don't think Dyche trusts him in a two-man midfield, which they've gone back to. And I think his Ireland performances haven't been at the level that they probably, well, they certainly should be, could be.
What might he be missing that Dyche mightn't like in a two-man midfield? He's 26 years old. I mean, he's made for box-to-box. He should be able to do everything. So obviously he's just not seeing things tactically.
Well, Jack Cork and Stephen Defoe last year were outstanding, with Jeff ahead of them. And they were very accomplished, both in possession and holding in a structured role within the midfield, staying behind the ball, and they built up a really good partnership. Now, Ashley Defoe's missed a good chunk of the end of last season and this season, and Ashley Westwood's come back in to the team ahead of Jeff. So what's he missing? He's probably not as accomplished in possession as those two players that I mentioned, in terms of the way that he has tried to evolve the way they're playing at Burnley. But I just love Jeff, and I would love him to get the licence of one sitter, two box to box, like I've set up that team there with Sean Williams at the base of it. But I just think on current form, which I alluded to before, Callum O'Dowda, Harry Arthur are playing better than him. Callum O'Dowda, off the back of last month against Poland, deserves a crack of the whip. And I think Harry Arthur for Cardiff, in what's been a tough start to their season, has been probably one of the shining lights.
It's just a pity how it's gone, because 2 years ago we were sitting here and we were saying, well, Robbie Brady and Hendrick and maybe another will make up the Ireland midfield for potentially the guts of 7 or 8 years, and they'll be great and they'll build a great partnership, and it was looking very rosy. Like, it is a pity, because we did come away from France thinking we had found something. Yeah,
and I remember being over in France, covering the games, and an Italian journalist was coming up to me and asking about Jeff Hendrick. Who's this Jeff Hendrick? Everybody in Italy loves him. Italian clubs are talking about Jeff Hendrick, and I was like, I was like, happy days, brilliant. And I've obviously was with that. And I still think, look, it's not. He's 26. I know what you're saying about there should be a level of consistency, but I also think there's an element of when they go from club form and club tactics, which we're going to touch on in a little bit, playing in central midfield and what they're going to do and not do. There's an element of, initially after the Euros, I thought it was he's feeling the pressure because he's been thrown into this new dimension of you're one of our new leaders. Maybe he struggled to deal with that. Then the move to Burnley, but now he needs to get through that.
Me and Kev spoke to him on the show shortly after the Euros, and he was saying that just before the tournament he hadn't been playing brilliantly either, actually. And he said some people close to him sat him down and said, this isn't good enough. You're really going to have to up it, especially if you're going to go and play the championships.
I remember him down in Turner's Cross.
He wasn't good.
No, he really wasn't. And he was getting back up to speed, and I think that might have been, you're right.
But he had people had to sit down with him then. Like, is he the type that needs a bit of a kick up the ass, I wonder? Is he the type that needs people? I don't know him at all.
I really like him as a fella, and Robbie Brady. And vast majority of other lads in that squad. But I do really like Jeff Hendrick, and I don't know whether it's a shake. I don't know whether it's the arm around the shot. I don't know him well enough to know what he needs.
Obviously, I don't
but
either.
I hope he gets it back, because I am a big fan of his.
But it was just notable that he did say that someone gave him a bit of a talking to before the Euros, and it really just got him in the right mindset. And you just wonder if the right few words could unlock something, because I don't know. He popped up in those championships. Remember the Sweden game, and he's bashing one off the post, crossbar, and he's up and down.
Got the game by the scruff of the neck. He was everywhere.
So
that's what we need.
It's quite extraordinary that here we are, and he's 2 years older. He's 26. He's not in your team.
I know. I felt quite sad about it.
So Williams and O'Dowda, you like what they're bringing?
Williams, O'Dowda. I think Williams as a holding midfielder, I would have him ahead of Myler, because he gives you more in possession. Although Myler's never let us down. Solid citizen. That's what I would go in. Robinson out wide. McLean obviously picks himself because he's a huge catalyst for a lot of things we do. And Shane Long coming back in. But then off the back of that, I think you've got real options from the bench with the likes of Maguire, 15, 20 minutes, depending on how fit he is. Got Hogan. He'll be invigorated with Dean Smith going in at Villa. He was his manager at Brentford, who done really well under Dean Smith at Brentford, got the move to Villa. And Aidan O'Brien last month, I thought, did really well. So there's better options from the bench.
All that said, James McLean was our top scorer in the last campaign. He's still the most likely candidate there to be the top scorer over the course of 10 games. And you're talking
probably
3 goals.
Yeah.
That's where we are.
So what does that say to you?
It says we're in big trouble.
No, and it says to me you need to be even tighter at the back.
Well, sure.
Difficult to break down. We need to get back to clean sheets. That's our basis to start with.
Bigger picture says we're in big trouble. Like, this is
Stop, Joe, will you stop? Don't worry, we're going to have Kenny Cunningham on the line soonish, and he is going to be ultra positive.